My name is Vivian. Let's start off today's webinar on advanced technical analysis. Although it is advanced, I'm going to take you through the most basic stuff. I will make it a goal to make it very simple and easy to understand. It's not going to be too complicated. If you all have any questions or doubts in between, please do drop in a message in the chat. Also, right away, if you can drop in a message in the chat, hope I'm audible to you and you can see the screen. If you all have any issues, just take a minute to write it on the chat. Let's begin today's session. So, what is technical analysis? Basically, technical analysis deals with all the price movements that has happened on a particular stock or a particular commodity or any instrument that trades in the market. You look at the historical price movement of a particular chart to understand the investor psychology behind every behind every move that happens on the chart. Now most of you are aware that the market goes in a wave format, and very rare cases where the market just shoots up one direction. You could say something like Tesla would be a stock which was shooting up just in one direction. But even in a stock like that, there's always a downside, and upside begins again. So now what we learn from technical analysis is to see and identify opportunities based on these price movements, to try and understand where we could where a particular stock could be a potential good entry for investments or even for a short term trade, and where you could identify the right level to enter, and most importantly where's the right level to even exit. And I will emphasize on the exit part a little more. Exit not always has to be on a profitable side. We have to be more careful about exits on the negative side as well. So risk management is the key. Even if we have all the signals giving us a good level to enter, we still need to make sure there is risk management and a well calculated risk before taking the positions. However, for the topic that we're going to be covering today is Fibonacci. It's very, very interesting. Fibonacci is something that most of you all might already know, and the ones who do not know about Fibonacci, do not worry, it's not complicated as the name suggests. Move forward. Yes. So, like I mentioned to you, technical analysis is a trading discipline employed to evaluate investments and identify trading opportunities by analyzing statistical trends gathered from trading activity, such as the price movement. And mainly it's the price movement, and it says analyzing statistical trends. So basically, we need to have enough of data points as well for us to take a technical a trade or an investment based on technical analysis. Now, there are two types of analysis that people do. Generally, for investments, it's fundamental analysis, and they include a bit of technical analysis. But when it comes to a short-term trading, it's majorly technical analysis and a small portion of fundamental analysis. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're an investor who's planning to buy and hold or invest your money for the next 5 years. So at this point of time, your fundamental analysis is the key, because you need to choose the right company to see if it has the potential growth for the next 5 years to make an X amount of return from it. So that is where you do your fundamental analysis in regards to what the company does, what is the future forecast about of the company, and what is the prospect of the company for the next 5 years. Along with that, you need to look into their financials and see if everything is good to go to invest into a company. But whereas when you look at technical analysis, you do consider fundamental analysis. For example, let's say you take a stock like Microsoft. Microsoft is always a evergreen stock that you could always be invested into at a given point of time. But we still need to make sure we buy Microsoft at a very good level to reap some benefit out of it. Microsoft could be bought at its all-time high, but then that would not gain as much as profit or returns for you, whereas you would wait for Microsoft to give a small drop or a correction in the market, and that drop could become a potential opportunity. But once we see the drop happening in Microsoft, or let's say the other stock would be Apple. Let's say Apple, the stock of Apple drops, Now we need to identify at what point of time does Apple actually become an attractive buy again. Although we know Apple is a good company fundamentally, but we need to identify where is it a good entry price, and that is where technical analysis is going to help us. Moving forward, I'm going to be covering on something known as average true range. This is the most basic thing that you could use to help you take advantage of market moves. Average true range is nothing but an indicator which shows you in a specific period of time how many dollars could a particular product move. For example, let's say Bitcoin as of today, if you all are watching Bitcoin moves easily about $5,000 to $6,000 a day. So average true range is there in your platform, in your charts. Once you choose that and you choose the daily chart, it will show you in a day how much of movement can you expect to happen in Bitcoin. If you change your chart to a 30-minute time frame, it will tell you in 30 minutes how many dollars can Bitcoin move is what it's going to show. One thing to be noted over here is average true range only gives you how many dollars or how much percentage a particular instrument can move in a given time frame, but it does not give you the direction of which direction the market could go. Like for example, since I had taken Bitcoin, which can move about $5,000 to $6,000 a day. Now, average true range only tells us it moves about $5,000 to $6,000, but it does not tell you which direction it's going to move. It can move either direction. It can go up or it can go down. But either ways, I will show you how average true range could be used to your advantage going forward in our next slide. Now, this is a slide of S&P 500. S&P 500, for those of you all are very new to the market, S&P 500 is an index. It constitutes of 500 companies of US, 500 large cap companies of US, and it is comprised into one index. So instead of you going and buying those 500 top companies of US, you can just buy one unit of S&P 500 and you would have invested in all the 500 companies, of course, with a different weightage. We'll not get into the technicality of the weightage as of now, but then what we know about S&P 500, because it takes into consideration the top 500 companies, it gives you an overall view of how the market is running as of today. For example, in this particular chart, if you can see, I hope you're able to see my cursor, right? So this is a weekly chart. When I'm showing you all this on the practical side of it, when I go into the live charts, I will show you all how these candlesticks form if you're very, very new. But for now, just look at the time frame over here. It's a weekly chart. So basically, each of this candle represents the weekly move. So every candlestick over here is 1 week worth of movement. So everywhere you see a red color candle, that means that particular week, the market has come down. Everywhere you see a green candlestick, that particular week, the market had gone up a little bit. But the very next week, you can see over here, it has dropped. And then each candlestick represents a week. Now, when I take my ATR, which again I will show you on the live chart soon, when I click on my ATR from my tools, it gives me a movement, an average movement of what I can expect SPX to have. In this case, SPX is showing me an average movement of 120. That means in $120, or it can go by $120 considering that you have a position in the market. Now, let's go to a smaller time frame. Now, I'm looking at a daily chart. It's still the same instrument, daily chart. If you look at it, I have limited data, not as much as weekly. Weekly gives me data all the way from 2018, whereas daily is limited to a year or two maximum. Now, on a daily chart, it shows me in a single day, SPX can move about $45. Again, it does not give me direction. Now, let's look at a 30-minute chart on the same instrument. Now, each candlestick represents 30 minutes of move. And you will see on a 30-minute time frame, it moves about $6 only. So the maximum you can expect SPX to move is $6 on a 30-minute time frame. Of course, now the trend has changed, and I will show you how it looks currently on the live markets. Now coming to the main topic of the day. So Fibonacci is nothing but a sequence of numbers starting with 0 and 1. I hope all of you all are able to see my screen. Now Fibonacci, what Fibonacci does is the series of numbers do is you add your first number with your second number, you get your third number. For example, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, and 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5, 8, 5 plus 8, 13, and it goes on to infinite. There is no limit as to where Fibonacci numbers could end. Now, the interesting facts about Fibonacci, what we will see is it appears everywhere in nature. So as the fun fact says, Fibonacci sequence, also known as the golden ratio, appears a lot in nature. Patterns such as spirals of shells, curves of waves, seed heads, pine cones, and branches of trees can all be described using the mathematical sequence. The fact that things as large as spirals of galaxy and as small as DNA molecules follow the golden ratio rules suggests that Fibonacci sequence is one of the most fundamental characteristics of the entire universe. So, in short, we see Fibonacci everywhere. And if we have not known about Fibonacci, I will give you a couple of examples. If we already know about Fibonacci, I'm sure you already know where all we see these Fibonacci numbers from. Moving forward, let's look at a couple of places where we can see Fibonacci series. The first one is a geometrical representation. So basically, they've just made a box where they've added one. So they add 1 square plus 1 square, you get 2 square, right? 2 plus 3, you get 5, right? And 5 plus 8 makes up this entire 13, the box, right? 13 plus 8 makes up this entire square for 21, and it goes on. Now, the spiral that comes out of this geometrical representation is when you just draw a line within the box on either of the corners. If you see on 8, you draw a line, it makes a curve along the entire Fibonacci series. And this is where the spiral comes for the geometrical representation of Fibonacci. Whereas on trees or on plants, if you have plants at home, probably you can go and test this out. Most of the time on a single branch, try and test this out on a smaller tree or a smaller plant, then it would be easy for you to count. But on a smaller plant, most of the time you will see a single branch which could maximum have about 5 leaves or any number of leaves, but it will always fall within the number of the Fibonacci series. So what are the Fibonacci numbers? So we have 2, we have 3, we have 5, we have 8, we have 13. So most of the time the leaves on each branch, the number of leaves that is there on each branch always ends up with a Fibonacci number around it. The branch, the way it spreads out also of a tree, has to be in the Fibonacci sequence of numbers. Reason being, when the sun revolves, the entire plant does not. Let's say the leaves that is on the higher end of the plant does not cover the sunlight from the lower end of the tree, and hence the design for the plant falls under this sequence. Now, the third option over here that you see is the sunflower. You can see spirals in this, but of course, you'll have to go more in details to see how these fall under the Fibonacci sequence. But the idea is to show you visually that you can see spirals even appearing in plants and in flowers. One more example that I can give you is if you have a rose, a fresh rose that's just come out of the plant, you start plucking out the number of petals. Most likely the number of petals again will be equivalent to one of the Fibonacci numbers. Moving forward, we see our entire galaxy here, right? And I'm sure by now you can already see the spiral in it, and you can see the Fibonacci sequence appearing in our entire galaxy. The reason why I went in depth to cover the fundamentals of what Fibonacci is, if Fibonacci appears everywhere in life, I'm sure it also does appear in the stock market, and or we can use these Fibonacci numbers to see certain patterns that happen in the stock market which can help us make decisions. So let's move forward to see how Fibonacci helps us in the stock market. Now, coming to the stock market, we understand each product has its own price. Now, we do not see any stock starting off with a Fibonacci number and then jumping up based on the Fibonacci numbers. So, definitely, we do not have an opportunity there to buy or sell. If that does not happen, what else helps us using these Fibonacci numbers? So, I'm just going back. If you all have your phone with you or if you have a calculator with you, let's just do this small exercise and you can write your answers in the chat. All right, now we need to derive a ratio. Now before I go to the ratio, let me just tell you what the golden ratio is. Yeah, so the key Fibonacci ratio is 61.8, also referred as the golden ratio. Basically, 61.8 is derived by dividing your first number, any number from your Fibonacci series, by dividing that first number with the very next number. You get 61.8, right? So this is your golden ratio. Now I will give you another example. Now this is an example that I would like you all to keep in mind while we are looking at it on the charts. One example of a 61.8 is if I take myself and measure my height, let's say from my toe till my head. If I measure my height, I might probably get about 180 centimeters. For example's sake, let's just say my height is 100 centimeters. Okay. Now we need to see in my entire height, what are the percentage what are the percentages there of Fibonacci that divides my body. Most of the time, or all of the time, so far I have tried this out practically on pretty much everybody that I know, and it has worked. Whatever their height is, the 61.8 percentage of their height is always from the hip bone till their toe. So your lower part of the body consists of the 61.8 of your entire body structure. So why am I telling you this is because again your hip bone is the most crucial part for a human body to hold together the upper body and the whole lower body. So every time you see 61.8 appears at a very crucial point in everything that we see. I'll give you another example. If I take the length of my arm, basically from my finger till my shoulder bone, all right, if my length of my arm is 100%, my elbow till my finger tip comes up to 61.8% of my entire length. Again, you can try this at home. It works most of the time. I mean, like I said, I've tried it out on many and it has worked out on everyone. Probably it might not be exactly dot to dot 61.8, but then why am I telling you about the elbow again? If you notice your elbow and your forearms are much from your elbow to your forearms till your fingers are much longer than your arm. Reason being, it helps you carry stuff. So your pivot becomes your elbow, and the elbow again is 61.8% of my entire length of my hand. So I hope you all got the relevance of what 61.8 is in a human body. But keep my example in mind, especially the one with my height from my head till my toe. My hip point is always going to be the crucial point in all my explanations. So now putting the same thing into the charts, we see market going up from a certain level. You see momentum picking up, and it goes to let's say the market just jumps up to a certain level and then it gives a drop. Most of the time when the drop comes is where the opportunity lies, and we are going to use the Fibonacci ratios, especially the golden ratios, to see if that drop comes back to the hip level of that entire rally that has happened. And if that happens, so there is one opportunity that we can find to enter into the markets. Now the exercise that I want you all to do is going back to the Fibonacci numbers. If you can take any of the first number and divide it with the second number. Let's start with for example, let's start with 233. That is your first number. You divide that by 377 and you multiply it by 100 to get the percentage. You can write your answers on the chat, please. It's okay, take your time. If you're searching for a calculator, we can take 2-3 minutes. Okay, I've got a couple of answers already pouring in. Just wait for another 2-3. Perfect. Let's try the same thing again with a bigger number. Let's try, or you guys can just pick whatever number you want, or let's just pick, I'll pick the number for you all so that we all have the same calculations running all over. So let's take the bigger numbers, that is 75,025 divided by 121,393. All right, you can post the answer for this as well. Multiplied by 100 again for us to get the percentage. Perfect. I've got a couple of answers already. So cool. So now we understand where the number 61.8 comes and why it is known as the golden ratio. Simply being the number 61.8 appears within the ratios of all these numbers, and hence 61.8 has become the golden ratio. I would also encourage you all to go and do a little bit of research on 61.8. You'll find a lot of interesting facts, a lot of things that you can do at home to see, where all you can find 61.8, or even, where all you can find the Fibonacci numbers. Like if you take your hand, I have 5 fingers. So 5 is again a number of Fibonacci. So you all can do a lot of experiments at home. Very interesting. But coming back to why we've learning Fibonacci, please do implement the same on your charts. And that is the main purpose of today's webinar. I will show you a couple of examples on the chart over here. In this case, you will see Apple at this point over here. We are looking at a monthly chart. I hope all of you all can see. Yes. All right. So you all can see a monthly chart on Apple, and I'm looking at data dating all the way from 2013, right? The reason I'm able to look at such a big data time frame is because I'm looking at a monthly chart, and each of these candlestick represents the monthly move, the price move. All right. So for the ones who are not very familiar with candlesticks, do not worry about it. Just look at each candlestick as a moment that has happened in that particular month, right? So I see a trend picking up from this lowest point. So this becomes the feet of this entire body. So this entire up move is the body. Remember, I give you an example of my height. So let's just say this is the height of this particular rally's body, and at whatever point, for whatever reasons, the rally ended, and let's say you're a new investor and you just come into the market, and you're excited because if you look at Apple from all the way from 2013, it has just been on an upward swing till mid of 2015. So let's say you came to the market in the middle of 2015, you would still see the excitement with investors at that point of time saying Apple is an amazing investment. It has given me X% of returns in 1 year. So you would not want to miss out the opportunity. So what would one do? They would enter right at the top. Okay. So what we as an investor or as a trader should always do is, if you're entering right at the top, you always make sure you know if this is the peak, how much percentage can Apple eventually drop, so that you enter accordingly. So let's say you have 100, let's say for example you have decided to put $10,000 in Apple. Probably you don't go with your entire $10,000 right at the start. You just start off with probably 10% of your capital to invest in Apple, so that when Apple drops you can buy some more and buy at much better levels. But even better than that is avoiding an investment right at the top and patiently waiting for it to come back down. So in this case, if you had to wait for just 6 more months, Apple prices actually started dropping. This was a huge drop over here, but then eventually the gradual drop had come all the way till this point, and from here it started picking back up again. Now I have already drawn the Fibonacci over here. I will show you how it's done on the draw tools as well on the live platform, which I'll be showing you in a minute. Okay, you choose the lowest point and you choose the highest point. So basically the from the leg till the head is where you choose, and these Fibonacci calculations are done by default on the system, so you do not have to calculate for each levels. It will calculate for you automatically, and there are other Fibonacci levels that I have not mentioned to you, but the calculation is pretty much similar as 61.8. So to get 61.8, we divided my first number with the second number. But for you to get 38.2, you divide your first number with your third number. Okay, and hence you get your other levels. But the importance for the day is the golden ratio, and let's stick to 61.8 for now. And eventually you will learn how to use your other ratios as well to make your trading decisions. So in this case, Apple went up, it dropped. Out of nowhere, it just took support from this level and it started going back up. Okay, now if you look at this was my entire body that I was talking about, toe till my head, or at least for the body of the Apple's rally. It came back down to a significant level, and that happened to be 61.8. Now, is this the reality with every stock? Is this the reality with everything that we see in life? No, not everything stops exactly at 61.8 and starts bouncing back up. There are a lot of places where it breaches below 61.8, and sometimes it might just go way off the radar itself. So that is something that we need to keep in mind. Again, that is where your fundamental analysis comes into play. Now, let's say a particular stock has dropped, we need to understand why it has dropped. And if the drop is just because, let's say, the drop that happened last year was because of pandemic, right? But that had nothing to do with Apple performing well. Apple was doing well, but the pandemic drop is why the market had dropped. So as a company, Apple was not going down. So if at that point of time the drop came to 61.8, you would have confidently bought it because you still see Apple being fundamentally a good stock to buy and hold. But let's say Apple has a huge fine and they've just been caught for doing illegal activities, and probably from there Apple might just go downhill because probably whatever scam that they might have got themselves into might be irreversible. Let's say worst case scenario. On that case, when it comes to 61.8, it would not be wise for us to buy because we know in the news it might not be good for Apple's future, and hence you avoid taking the trade. Moving forward, we were in 2015, 2016. Now I'm going to 2016, the drop that we saw, basically this drop, 2016. Here is the drop. Since we do not have space to show you the entire history, what we saw behind is in this page, and we are seeing from 2016 drop. This is where you had bought, right? So from here, market went up. Now I'm not showing you where to book profit yet. I will show you all when I do it on the live chart. But let's just look at what happened after this drop. After this drop, the market again started building up. So you see another body forming here, an uptrend. So a Fibonacci can be drawn only on a good uptrend swing. There should always be a good momentum. If there is a flat or sideways market, Fibonacci does not work very often on a flat or sideways market. But whenever there is a good momentum, you will see Fibonacci working well. I'm just going back to the previous chart. You will see that the price of Apple went all the way from 15 to 33 and then dropped back to 24. Okay. Now we are looking at this 24, 22 levels where we entered again. So from 22, it has jumped all the way up till 57, right? So you can see the momentum. You can see in a matter of 2 years how much Apple has grown. Now again, if you were a newcomer, you missed this particular rally. You wait for a drop in the market, and we see eventually the drop came in and it took support from 35 in this case and started bouncing back up. And if we go back to your Fibonacci level, it takes support again at 61.8, right? I'll just move forward to the pandemic year, right? Now we'll say the first time was a coincidence, second time was a coincidence. Let's look at the pandemic drop that has happened. Now on a pandemic before, okay, so this drop that we saw over here was 2019, which was at 35 roughly. Okay, so I'm taking that same drop, at 35, 2019. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I'm taking that same drop and seeing this particular rally that has happened. So from 2019, you see from 35, Apple again went to 70. So another 100% rise in the prices of Apple. And then eventually the market gave a drop. Now, this drop, which happened in 2020 again, was because of the pandemic. But even though it was a pandemic, you see the market came down. It took support from 52, and then this was 61.8 again, and then market has bounced back up. Now, I will show you how Apple is performing as of today. So I hope you all got the idea of how I'm using the Fibonacci and what is Fibonacci showing us so far. What I'll be doing is I will jump into the live charts directly. There is one more topic that I would like to cover, but I will do it very briefly. I think if not, we will go overboard. More of my explanations, I will keep it on the live chart so that we can probably, if we find an opportunity right now, we'll take a trade as well. So the next topic that I would be covering, and probably I'll show you an example on this as well, is known as the harmonic patterns. Basically, harmonic patterns are formed using Fibonacci again. I'll just show you a couple of examples quickly. All right. So there was this man by the name of Gartley who saw certain patterns happening on Fibonacci. So eventually he noticed that those patterns repeatedly occur on those same Fibonacci levels. Now going back to Fibonacci, like I told you, apart from 61.8, there are a few other levels. So he identified patterns that form on these other levels. And whenever these patterns form, there is a certain outcome. So what the biggest problem that for him at that point of time was what to buy, what when to buy and sell on the market. So this helped him a good level to enter, exit, and of course your take profits, and very importantly keeping stop losses. That now, how does it look? Now, the main pattern is named after him. Is these are known as the Gartley patterns. So there is a bullish Gartley and there is a bearish Gartley. In this, you see X is your starting point, and from there your A, B, C, and D happens. So if these criterias, let's say for example, in this case, from point X, market went up and it gave that drop to 61.8, and from B, it has to go back all the way up to either 88.6 or 38.2 or in between that. And the middle Fibonacci ratio between 38.2 and 88.6 is again 61.8. So basically market went up, dropped by 61.8. And then in this case, we are measuring the top to bottom. We are not measuring bottom to top. We are measuring A to B. On A to B, it has to go back either to 88.6 or 61.8, and then from there it has to come back to 161.8 of B to C. Now we are measuring B to C. So if all of these criteria match, or all of these criteria fall under these Fibonacci series, then the probability of the market shooting up from this price is very, very high. So a few things that we can learn from this pattern is the momentum was upside either ways. Then there was a sell-off that happened. Then the momentum picked up a little bit. Another sell-off happened. And the main trend, if you see, is still on the upside. So hence this trade is taken. One is the criteria meets all, all the points meet the criteria that was given here. And second, when the D leg is completed, it will verify you with two levels. One is the 127.2% and also 78.6 of X and A. So basically, this D point has to be below your B point, below your 61.8. I will explain the same thing again on the live chart. So do not worry if you're not getting me on what is happening here. But why am I showing you this? Because every time a pattern completes, The probability of the market going up once the D leg is complete, the probability of market going up or going in the desired direction is much higher. So hence this trade gives you good returns. And the second advantage of these patterns are your stop loss is going to be very small compared to your gain. So if you look at this green line over here is huge compared to you the stop loss that you're going to keep at X. So your stop loss might be probably 5% here, but your return over here could be almost 15%. So you're risking 5% to make 15%. That's a good risk reward ratio, right? And same patterns vice versa. Now they're looking at a market where market is crashing and not going up. So they try and identify a pattern there to sell the market. These are for the people who like to short the market or who like to take advantage of downside of the market, right? Now, there are other patterns with different numbers. We'll not get into it, but I hope you all understood the basic concept of a harmonic pattern. Now, let's just directly dive into the live chart. So this is Apple chart, and let me show you the time frame. So these are the time frames that we were looking at. We looked at monthly chart. So these are the monthly chart. This is how it looks all the way from 2008 till now. Okay, and what we were measuring was basically, I'm just going to change the candlestick pattern so that you all can see the trend, right? You can see these were the things that I showed you as an example, the trends that we saw where, market, like in this case, I started off with this example in 2013 where the market rallied and it gave a drop. So this was 61.8. And then from here, market picked up again and then it gave a drop again. So this entire rally, this point came to 61.8. And this was the pandemic drop, which we again looked at. This entire rally came down to 61.8. And currently we are at this level where, like I said, if I had to come into the market today and I follow Fibonacci, I will not do anything right now because yes, the market could probably go up much further from here, but the chances of market dropping also is quite high. So I rather wait for the market to drop to 61.8 of this entire rally, and then I'll start buying it over there. So I'll show you how to add your Fibonacci on this. Let's close the circles. So now that we know how the chart looks on a monthly time frame. Now, if you go to your draw tools at the bottom, you have a lot of indicators, I mean a lot of tools over here. The one that we are looking at is Fibonacci. There is Fibonacci extension, there's Fibonacci fan, there's a lot of things that come under Fibonacci, which is not really a requirement, but then if you all want to still move forward and learn all of this, which would be great, but your basic Fibonacci should help. Now what we learned about Fibonacci is we need to measure a body, right? So we are looking at a length of a particular rally. So this particular rally is what I would measure. This particular rally is what I would measure. And this particular rally is what I would measure. Now, if you click on Fibonacci, it selects your instrument. You need to select the bottommost point of where the rally we started beginning from, and you end it right at the top. So like in this example, if you can see, I'm just going to change this into a weekly chart so it gives us more data. So it's the same. We're still looking at the same thing, but it just adds more candlesticks because there is more data for us to see on a weekly chart, right? So we've taken, this was the entire rally on the monthly chart. So if you can see, it rallied. Okay, now you might ask me, Vivian, what about the small drop that happened here? Should we consider this? Yes, you should. When you do the small rally over here also where the rally had begun, let me just zoom that in, right? So even this comes roughly close to 61.8. So 61.8 can happen even within small time frames. So we are just looking at a bigger time frame, that was the monthly chart. So let's just stick to the monthly chart for now. So this is how you draw your Fibonacci. I'll do that again. So you go to your draw tools, click on Fibonacci, click your bottommost level, and the highest level on Fibonacci. I mean, sorry, on the entire rally that has happened. So if I go back to my monthly chart, you'll see this was the entire rally that has happened, and somewhere close to 61.8 is where the market bounced back up. So if I had to take a position, probably I would have bought somewhere at these levels and expected it to give me a return. Now I'll show you how to measure what kind of returns you can make, and where do you keep your stop loss. So we'll look at where to keep a stop loss. That is more important because, like I mentioned to you, not every time 61.8 is going to work. Like there are a lot of times 61 point might fail. Now let me give you the opportunity. You can choose a stock. Let's choose a stock that has been around for quite some time. Please do not choose stocks like Tesla, because I will show you why. Let's just open Tesla. Right, so this is Tesla, and I'm going to open a monthly chart. So if you there's not much that has happened in Tesla, and in fact all the move that has happened in Tesla has been only within 2020 until today. So if I have to do a technical analysis on this, I can still do technical analysis on a smaller time frame. Like for example, if I open a 30-minute chart, I have a lot of movement, lot of ups and downs, so I can use my Fibonacci here. But this is too much of noise. So probably if I go into a 4-hour chart, maybe this has reduced the noise a little bit. Let's look at a daily chart. Okay, this is much more cleaner. So on a daily chart, we see at this point of time is where Tesla rallied. So I'll either way, since I've opened it for you, I'm going to measure it. So Tesla picked up its momentum from somewhere here. It has not yet touched 61.8, so there are more chances of it coming down till 600 levels at least, right? So, but there's not much data that I can do my analysis on. This was one drop here, so bottom to top. So if you notice, this one came till 61.8. It breached 61.8, in fact. Let me zoom that in. Yeah, so if you look at this, in this, it breached 61.8, but still, you would have still bought it at 61.8. It worked out in your favor. Now let's look at what happens when it goes back up. So I'm just looking at, so people who buy, this makes sense. But what about people who want to short the market? So for those of you all who do not know what shorting of the market is, in very simple word, without making it complicated for you, you sell something without buying it, and when the market price drops, you make money out of it. So let me give you an example again. Let's say at this point of time you sell, uh, let me let me just show you on the chart for the ones who are not aware of short selling. Okay, let's say 10 units, and this price was roughly around 438, sorry, 465. Okay, so if you all can see this orange line, let's say someone took a sell at this price. So basically, you're taking a sell at 461, and when the price of Tesla actually starts dropping down, in this case from 461, it came all the way down till 350, 350. So basically, because the price dropped by almost $100 or $110, you made $11. Sorry, you made sorry, $110, you made a profit of $1,100 over here. 10 units multiplied by your price. Now, this is somewhere people make money on shorting the market. You know, they gain out of shorting the market. So let's look at what about entry points for people who look to short in the markets. All this while we were looking at top to bottom, right? And we got 61.8 to enter on the buy side, but we do the opposite to enter on the sell side. We look at all the drops. So this was a drop. Okay, so top to bottom, and the 61.8 now comes on the higher end and not on the lower end, because we are looking at it exactly the opposite way of how we were looking at it for the buy side. So in this case, you will see market went back up, went till 61.8, and it dropped again. Now I can measure bottom to top again. I'm measuring this bottom to this top again. If you see again, it came to 61.8. Now, by now, most of you all have already learned that Tesla does not bounce back exactly from 61.8. It always breaches a little more. So advisable, don't, if you wanted to buy, let's say $10,000 worth of Tesla at 61.8, you can probably buy only $5,000 here. And when it breaches a little more, then you can buy your other $5,000 and make profit out of Tesla on the buy side. So I hope so far we are clear on how to draw Fibonacci. I will give you the opportunity. Can you all choose? Uh, you all can take any instrument. It does not have to be a stock. It can be a commodity, or it could be even an index. Let's try and draw Fibonacci and see what happens over there. Let's see if 61.8 actually works on those instruments, or if it doesn't. Like I mentioned to you, 61.8 is not always 100% the level that you need to choose to buy. We need to test 61.8 on every instrument and see which ones respect the levels and which ones don't. But the reason I had chosen Apple for you is because Apple again is one of the most traded stock. Most of the funds have invested into Apple as part of their portfolio. Reason being, it is a good fundamental company, and if everybody is buying into Apple to be part of their portfolio, and it is work, and 61.8 is working over there, so you see a lot of strength coming into products which are highly favored by all investors. So when you try putting 61.8 on products which are very volatile, which are very speculative, or which is not highly favored by all sorts of investors, then probably 61.8 would not work. Like in the case of Tesla, you saw 61.8. Tesla is a very highly speculative stock. So you see, it's always breached 61.8, but nevertheless, still Tesla still gave you an entry point at a good level, better than entering Tesla right at the top. Let's see if I've got any Visa and see. Okay, let's check Visa. Visa is a good company. All right, so Visa has some good momentum. I'll start from the monthly chart so that we can see. Now, one drawback about Visa is it is a very good growth stock, but the drops on Visa has been hardly, so we can hardly find. In fact, if you honestly ask me, I can find only one big drop in Visa. So I can say outright that probably trying to use Fibonacci on this would not work really well, because the stock tends to keep jumping back up. The other way that you can look at when to invest in Visa, if you cannot implement Fibonacci, is you measure all the drops that you've seen in the past. So whenever you find similar drops, like for example, let's say I see this was one of the biggest drops. Um, Let me just change this. Okay. Yeah, so now we can see the drops more clearly. So we see a lot of drops have happened in Visa, but then those drops were not a very good indication for us to take a buy into Visa using Fibonacci or technicals. Probably Visa could be invested based on the previous drops. So this drop roughly was about 16%. Right after that, I would ignore these two. It was pretty much flat. We see another drop that has come over here. If you see, this was a drop of 19%. And then of course we have the bigger drop that happened during the pandemic, which is around 38%. That is one off scenario, but could happen again. This is another drop here, and currently this is not a drop, this is still running. So but otherwise, I'll just consider this for this example. So now one way we can look at this particular stock, since we cannot use Fibonacci over here, is what point of time is Visa a good buy. So I see on an average Visa drops by 16 sorry, this is almost 17%, 17, 19, 17. So every time I see a 17% drop in Visa, I would consider that as a very good buying opportunity since the stock has just been on one way upside. So Fibonacci probably would not give us any kind of levels on on Visa. Is there any other stock? How did I calculate the drop percentage? Okay, good question. Thanks for asking. Let me just go back to Apple. I'll just show you how did I calculate the drop. Maybe I'll do it on a shorter time frame. Okay, let me do this on a daily time frame. I'm closing this. So now people who want to sell the market or who want to short the market, they look at particular rallies. Like in this case, let's take this as an example. I don't think this touched 61.8, but either ways for the example's sake. Now we know or we see that the market is going to drop and it has already started dropping. Instead of taking a sell over here or instead of shorting the stock over here, we would want the stock to come back to a certain level to sell again. So earlier what we used to do is we used to wait for the market to go up and give a drop so that we can draw the Fibonacci. But when we are doing the opposite, when you want to short the position, when the market is dropping, you wait for the market to drop and finish its drop and starts going back up. So this way you use your Fibonacci to draw from top to bottom. Okay. So in this case, you see it came down, it went back up. Let me try and make the font a little bigger. I'm sorry if it was too small for all of you all. Yeah, so I just made the font a little bigger. Let me draw this again. So we see the market has dropped. Okay, I want to sell the market to gain from the price going down. So instead of taking a sell on the drop, I'm waiting for it to come back up a little bit so that I can sell again. So this drop happened. It came all the way down till here. So you choose your Fibonacci. You choose your Fibonacci from your draw tools. You select the top and then you select the bottom. So now you understand when it went back to 124, this was a good level for you to sell because from 124, it came back all the way to 110. So that was a good profit over there. So someone would have gained about $12 or $14 at this point of time because they sold the market. But when you're buying, when you want to buy, you always look at top to bottom to top. So bottom to top. So in this case, market went up, then it dropped. Now you want to buy back into Apple. So you look at a good level to enter. So the 61.8 is roughly around 107. So you took a buy at 107. It did come down little below 61.8, but pretty much negligible. The danger is when it comes below 61.8 and goes all the way below this 100% is where the loss is going to become very, very huge. So for that, I will just show you very quickly how to keep stop losses and take profit. Let me just show you all a commodity since we were looking at only uh, stocks. Let me change it. Let me show you commodity. I will show you on a monthly chart again. Let's look at gold, which again is one of the most traded instrument. Everyone wants to hold on to some amount of gold at least as investments. Now we can see this is the data from all the way from 2000 till date, right? So we see a lot of small trading that has happened in between, but the big swings were pretty much which picked up in 2005. Then there was a correction over here. Okay, so probably this is one level that we can look at. So this was a rally up. It came down, but in this case, it did not touch 61.8. All right, even if I have to take this particular rally here, because if you see this particular rally ended at this point, it came back down, but from this level, it went back up. So here, there was an opportunity for people who wanted to buy in gold. Of course, back in the days, I'm not sure if people were using Fibonacci, but then 61.8 still worked for this rally that has happened over here. Now let's look at this bigger rally. This is a very significant move. So all the way from here to here. So gold went up from 2008, which was trading at almost $680. It went up to $1,920. That was the peak, right? From there, gold started dropping back again. So by now, a lot of people already, people who are holding gold are losing, but a lot of new investors at this point of time would have come in. Right now, they want to buy and hold gold. So at what point should they consider buying hold? Again, if I have to do it Fibonacci wise, I would wait for this drop to come down by 61.8. So in this case, it came down from 2010. It started coming down. Eventually it touched rock bottom at 2015, and then it started bouncing back up. So if I had to take a investment decision for a long term period, I would have bought gold at the 61.8 level, which is 1156. So this was a good level to buy gold. So people have bought gold. Now gold has again rallied back up. Okay, so now if you ask me, okay, Vivian, what is the future of gold? What should I do right now as an investor? So there are a lot of things that you can do. Three things that you need to consider before taking an investment is: are you buying it for a short-term gain, or are you buying it for the long-run gain? If you're looking at a long-term, you always wait. So this is the last big rally I can see. Okay, as you can see from the chart, this I would consider as flat, because I mean, within the flat also you will see a lot of like, for example, this was a spike, right? So this also somewhat came to 61.8 over here, and then it bounced back up. So you can take these smaller ones also, but these smaller ones are for short-term traders. But if you're looking at a longer term view, then you can see gold. In fact, I would consider this level for entry, right? This would be much more better to gauge, because again, this over here might be a little flat, because we are looking at a monthly chart. So there was almost 3 months of no activity happening in gold, or rather very small activity happening in gold, but it picked up somewhere from 2019 May. Over here, if you notice, right now it is taking support on 38.2, but I'd rather wait for it to come to 50% or 61.8%, even better. So what a lot of long-term investors do is they start accumulating at each of these percentages, right? So better to start accumulating is when it comes down by 50%. That means you're getting something which has rallied so much, you're getting at a 50% discount. That's how you got to look at it. And the next level you would enter, it's at 61.8. Now again, there is no guarantee that 61.8 might be the last stopping place for gold. Gold probably might break 1600 and maybe even come back down to 1300. So now that is the risk side of it that you will always have to measure. If you're a long-term investor, you need to be ready to see a 10% drawdown after you entered at 61.8, right? But if you're a short-term investor and you have taken leverage on top of that, let's say you have taken 10 times leverage. So if you've taken a 10 times leverage and gold drops by 10%, you have lost 100% of your equity. So that is the most crucial thing about using Fibonacci. Might give you good levels, but for you to be a successful trader or investor, how much you invest, or if you do take a leverage, where do you keep your stop loss and how much do you limit your stop loss, your losses to, is what is very, very important and crucial. Let me try and wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. uh, I will show you how to take a trade on Fibonacci and where to keep a stop loss. Very, very small example. Let me see if I can get any opportunity for 61.8. So I'm just going into an instrument and I'm going to a 5 minute chart. So basically 5 minutes gives me a lot of moves. So I'm trying to see if I can take any trade. No. So, okay, let me just show you an example on this particular instrument. This is US 30, which has rallied all the way from 31,000 to 420. So 31,420 to 31,600. That's a $200 move. So that's a huge move. Let me take a slower moving index. PX 500. Yeah. All right. So let's look at 30-minute chart over here. Well, perfect. So now we see a rally. Now this is what I'm looking at, 30-minute chart. So right now we are at 8 o'clock. So this candlestick just started. This particular candlestick represents 7:30 to 8 o'clock. This one represents 7 to 7:30. we see a rally that has happened over here, right? Now, I know for the fact that on a short term, the market is on the upside. So I don't want to miss out on the upside rally. So as an impulsive move, what would I do? I would end up buying SPX right now. Let's say, for example, I want to buy SPX about 10 units. Okay. I buy SPX at the current price. But the problem is, let's see, earlier also the market looked like it was on the upside, right? So if I had to end up buying somewhere at the top, yes, it did go up a little bit, but eventually it dropped all the way back to much lower than from where I had bought. So instead of making the same mistake, what I would do is I will wait. I will wait for this candle to either come down, either it's going to come down or it's going to go up. So I'll wait for this rally to end. Probably if it goes up, I'll wait till it ends. Probably it goes up a little more. I'll keep waiting till the rally ends and then it gives a drop. So when it gives a drop is where I would enter. I wish I could take a live trade. Let me just look at another instrument. Um, Tesla is volatile. So if I can do a live trade, it would be more easier for you to understand the buys and the sells. But I'm just trying to see where all I can find an opportunity. Okay, let's take a look at Tesla, right? Now we see Tesla went up, flat, crashed, flat again, and it has crashed. Now the trend for Tesla from what we're looking at it, this is from February till today. So you can see the major trend for Tesla is mostly downside. So the chances of Tesla is going down. So let's say I am of the view that Tesla is going to go down. So I want to sell Tesla. So what I would do is I will take the measurement of the immediate drop, so top to bottom. Okay. And if you notice, Tesla is exactly at 61.8. Now, let me just make this bigger so you all can see it. Font. Yep. So you can see Tesla currently at current live market price is at 61.8 of this particular drop. So what I would do is, let's say I take a $10,000 worth of sell for Tesla. I'm going to sell. So I'm basically, if Tesla comes back down, is where I'm going to make profit. But if it goes up, I'm going to lose. I'm going to make losses over there. Now, where do you keep stop losses? There are two places that you can keep stop losses. You can keep a little higher than 61.8. Okay, somewhere between 100 and 61.8. That is one place where you can keep a stop loss. So in that case, if I keep a stop loss somewhere here, you're looking at it visually, so it'll be more easier to understand. I'm risking about $500 to make about $900, right? If I keep a stop loss here. Now, in the case of someone who wants to be a little more cautious, what they would do is they would keep a stop loss above the 100%. Now, what is happening is you're risking about $100, $1,000 to make about $1,000 or $900 to make $900. So most of them with a very volatile stock like Tesla would like to keep their stop losses a little wide, but with a more stable stock like Apple, they would probably keep their stop losses somewhere close by. And let me go ahead and take this trade either way, since the market has given the opportunity. Hopefully we can get to see something before we leave. Few tips that I would give is, on a shorter time frame, the volatility is always more, so you might get quicker targets, but risk also is quicker in terms of when it goes against you. But when you look at a longer time frame, when you're looking at a weekly chart or when you're looking at a daily chart, probably your risk and reward would be a little slower, but the volatility is reduced to quite an extent. Now, whenever you're doing a short-term trade, most of them who do short-term trades do take leverage because they want to quickly enter and quickly exit. So hence you need to keep a stop loss at all times. But whenever you're doing a longer time frame or a longer term investment, your leverage needs to go down as much as possible because your targets and your drawdowns are going to be much bigger. So let's say, for example, you buy gold, or let's say you buy Apple after it drops down. You're going to wait for Apple to recover by at least 40% on the higher end before you book your profit. Now, for example, let's say you bought Apple worth $10,000 and it went back up by 30%. You make $3,000 gain. But in the case where Apple actually does drop a little more, then you might see a drawdown of $3,000. That is on a longer time frame. I'm talking about, let's say, a year or two investment. But what happens if you have a $10,000 account and you take an investment worth $100,000? Now you're leveraged 10 times. Your account value is only $10,000. And when the market goes against you by 10%, your account gets wiped out, because now, of course, Apple would have gone back up eventually, but in that time frame, because the leverage was a lot, is where you lost out. And of course, even on short term frame, leverage is something that can make quick money or actually make you lose a lot of money. So hence, a stop loss is always recommended on any trade decisions that you take, no matter how confident we could be about the trades. I would advise, always keep a stop loss or measure your risk before you even enter the trade. So you know when it goes against you by a certain percentage, that is where you need to exit if you're not going to keep a stop loss. But always measure your risk first and then your reward. I hope this session was good. I hope I was clear on most of my points. Do not worry if you all were not able to catch up on everything that I have told you. If one of our relationship managers gets in touch with you, you can always book an appointment with them, and you can always ask for one-on-one session. Usually, once the account is opened, you are introduced to your market consultant, and he's the one who will be doing the one-on-one session for you. If your account is not yet opened, the relationship manager would still go through with you on all the platforms and all the technical products that are available for you to do technical analysis on the platform, and you can get more information from there. Please do drop in your feedback so that it can help me improvise in my presentation in the future. I hope this was a good learning lesson for each one of you. Thank you all so much for the patience, and sorry again for going overboard on the time. But look forward to seeing you all at more sessions like this in the future. Thank you again. Have a great day.